to share with you something that I think encapsulates what we're going to be speaking about today. And it's a quote from Barbara DeAngelis, who is a favorite author of mine. And she talks about living in integrity. And this is really what speaking our truth, standing in our truth, and finding our voice is all about. Living with integrity means not settling for less than what you know you deserve in your relationships. It's asking for what you want and need from others. Speaking your truth, even though it might create conflict or tension, is part of your right of being a human being. Behaving in ways that are in harmony with your personal values are so very important. And making choices on what you believe, not what others believe, but your truth. This is what I'd like us all to sit with today. Many of us as children were taught that it was not safe to share our voice and speak our truth. You may have heard children are to be seen and not heard, or you might have found that you were in a place growing up where you had a teacher or an adult, maybe a parent or uncle or aunt or whomever it might have been, that really wanted to squash your voice and keep you quiet. And you start to learn that it's not safe to speak. So you often remain quiet to keep the peace, or you remain quiet because you feel like, well, there's no value to my voice. And that's why I wanted to come together today and talk about these different ways, these different steps that we can take to reclaim our voice. Now, I realize that not everybody has been raised in an environment where you weren't allowed to speak or express or self-express. But what I've found over the years in working with the women that I have is a number of them were absolutely asked to be quiet on a very regular basis, shushed on a very regular basis. And you can tell through my podcast coaching, there are women who, just to record a sample, just to come together and do an interview like this or one that's audio only, the fear that comes up is quite intense. So I'd like to invite you now to, if you have your journals in front of you, I'm going to move through 5 different steps that you can keep track of that we'll be talking about. And the first one for reclaiming your voice and speaking your truth is to acknowledge that you've been keeping quiet to keep the peace. Where might you be doing that in your life and in your relationships, at work? What comes up for you when you think about that? And then as we move along to the second part, uncover where you learned that it wasn't safe to speak your truth. I have a story about that. I remember being in 3rd grade. I had this teacher, her name was Mrs. Hess. And Mrs. Hess was a very large, very stern German woman who really kept a tight lid on her class and the kids in her 3rd grade class. And what was she teaching us at the time? Writing and cursive writing and language back at that time. And she gave me the nickname Motor Mouth because I talked too much. And she wanted to keep me quiet. And she would take a ruler and slam it on the desk, or refer to me as Motor Mouth instead of Shann, and then have me go stand in a corner and stare at the corner. And I realized that through my own work now, that was a big part of me learning why or how it wasn't safe for me to use my voice and to stuff things down. And